All right, guys, so today's video is just going to be a quick review over simplifying radicals. So this is a review from Algebra 1, 2, just to kind of refresh your mind on how to do this because you're going to be having to simplify radicals a lot throughout the rest of geometry. So kind of to remind ourselves, a radical is the same thing as a square root. So for example, if we had the square root of 4, we know that's 2, right? Or the square root of 9, we know that's 3. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 is 5, and so forth. These are all radicals. And these radicals, where you get your answers to be whole numbers, like what we just did, well, these are considered perfect squares. And things don't always work out that nicely. You're not always going to get your answer to be the square root of 9, and you can tell me the answer is 3. Well, sometimes you're going to have to simplify that radical. So we're going to look at a few examples and a couple different ways that you can go about simplifying radicals. So the first one we're going to look at is radical 8. We're going to talk about how we could simplify the square root of 8. Well, one way you can think of these problems is those perfect squares we just talked about. So 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, dot, 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 and so forth. If you can think of a perfect square that can go into the number that you're given to right away, you can write that out. So, for example, I think we all can realize 8 goes into 4. That's a pretty common thing that we all are able to understand. Well, 4 goes into 8 2 times. So 8 is the same thing as saying 2 times 4. Well, since 4 is a perfect square, you can think of this problem as taking the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. You're allowed to break things up like that. Well, we know the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2. And this square root of 2, you can't do anything with. So you would just leave it like that. So when you simplify the square root of 8, you're going to get the square root of 2. That's what we mean when we say simplify radicals. So another example, this one's a little bigger, so we got 60. And sometimes you can't see a perfect square right away. So another way you can think of it, and you learn this in algebra, is you can use what we call factor trees. So let's say we have 60. A factor tree is when you find the prime factorization of that number. So for example, prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, and so forth. Well, 2 can go into 60 30 times. So I'm going to break that up as the 2 and 60. 2 can't go any further, but 30 can be divided by 2 as well, and that's 2 and 15. And then 15 breaks up to 5 and 3. So this would be your prime factorization. So you could rewrite this as a prime factorization of 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Because again, 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 is the prime factorization of 60. That's what you get when you multiply all those together. And then what you want to do is you want to look for pairs. So if you have any pairs, like we have here, you want to take that outside the square root. So I would take 2 and put it outside the square root. Inside the square root, though, I still have that 3 times 5. Well, we want to go ahead and multiply those together. So your final answer would be 2 radical 15. That would be the simplified answer of radical 60. So hopefully this is making sense, and this is a really good refresher because again, that's what this is. You should have already learned this. So I'm going to show you one more. You might be good by now, and if you are good, then you can just stop the video. But if you want to see one more, I'll show you one more. The last one I'm going to do is the square root of 300. Now, there's two ways you can think of this. Maybe right away you can realize, all right, 300 is just 3 times 100. All right, so we've got 100 times 3. The square root of 100 is 10. and then the 3 stays in the square root. So if you can see that right away, awesome. There's your answer. But sometimes you can't see that right away, so you can also do the prime factorization. So if I've got the square root of 300, right, my factor tree for 300, well, 2 goes into it 150 times. 2 goes into 150. My phone is ringing, sorry guys. 75 times. 75 can be broken up to 5 and 15. And then 15 can be broken up to 5 and 3. So your prime factorization is 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 3, which then gets broken up, which then you want to look for pairs. I apologize. So you got the pairs of 2s, pairs of 5s. And for this one, it's kind of interesting because you got a couple pairs. So you want to take out a 2 times a 5 because you're taking out both pairs. So then your final answer, you take the 2 times 5, which is 10, radical 3, just like we said before. So that's all for this video. This is, again, just a refresher. And this will help you through the rest of geometry. So have a great day, guys. Bye.